I'm in a lot of different writing groups, and I'm in this one writing group that talks about beta readers. And beta readers can be great, but it's very important that you find the right one. Because I've had some that were not that great. They would read the book and then be like, oh my gosh, I loved it. And it's like, okay, that's great, but what can I improve on it? And then their response basically was, oh, it's just great the way it is. And I'm like, well, we all know that's not true. No author has a perfect book right off. That's not how it works. There's always problems. And unfortunately, when you're the one writing the book, you can't always see the problems because, well, you're kind of in your own mind. You can't see it from the outside in, kind of thing. So it's really difficult for us to better read our own stuff and find problems. So we rely on other people. Okay. Now, obviously, those beta readers that I just mentioned, it was kind of like, okay, we're not using them again because I need more than that. I need them to be honest. I need them to find certain things. And they were just not finding those things. I've even had some that would completely ghost you. They would say, yeah, I'll beta read, and they just ghost you. You wouldn't hear from them again. Those I get really nervous about because you don't know if something like came up with them and they're just not reading it, or if they're legit taking your work and making it their own. Some, authors have that problem where people have stolen their work and claimed it as their own. It has happened. Even in the indie world, it has happened. Luckily, it has not happened to me, knock on wood. But I have heard of it happening to other people. And that's obviously very nerve-wracking because, you have to get lawyers involved. You have to prove all these different things of copyrights and all other stuff. So it can get very stressful. But luckily, I haven't had to have that yet. I did have one beta experience. It was with Winner Takes All. I had learned a lot by the time I published that book. And next week, I'll actually go into my very first book that I published and the problems I made, like the mistakes I made with that, I'll go into next week because that is like a whole video of like nothing but learning right there that I'm just going to go over with you guys. But with Winner Takes All, I had one beta reader and I'm always about being honest and taking criticism and everything like that. But there comes a point where that criticism is just pure meanness. And at that point, I just shut down and I shut you off because I'm like, you know what? That's it. When you are in the beta phase, and as most authors know this, and if you're just starting out, remember this, okay? Just remember this. When you're in the beta phase, you are not in the editing phase where that book's about to go out next week. You're not in that phase. You're not there. You are taking people's input, different readers, and you're taking in what they say about your characters, maybe your plot, maybe your character development is a little wacky, whatever. Even your character arcs. I have a weakness about that, and we'll talk about that in another video. But with Winner Takes All, I was really excited, and I'm like, okay, I've learned so much that I'm ready to take what I've learned and apply it, okay? So I went out and I found some beta readers, and I found a couple that were great. And then I found this one person. Yeah. And we did what we call like critique like exchange, where she would beta read my book and I'd beta read her book. Her book was not finished. I don't like to beta read books that are not finished. I just don't, because there's so many holes, and I'm sitting here and I'm mentioning it, and then they're telling me, oh, it's not done yet. And I'm like, then why is it even here? That's just how I am as a beta reader myself. But I'm also like that too with my beta readers. I'm not going to send you something if it's not done, if it's not completely done, because, at that point, it's like I'm just spinning your wheels because the book's not even close to being done. So why would I let you beta read it when it's not even, ready for other readers? That's what alpha readers are for, So anyways, back to this story. Sorry, my ADHD is kicking in. So I sent it off to her. I critiqued hers. Again, hers was not finished. Hers was not even halfway finished. Mine was done. Mine was ready for beta readers. It was ready for input. And she only read some of it. And then she didn't even finish it. She got to I think chapter 4, chapter 3, and then she stopped. And she sent me a 3-paragraph email response of how crappy my book was. And how it's not ready for publishing. And it's like, well, no, of course it's not ready for publishing. That's why it's a beta reading section right now. It's not ready for publishing. It's not even ready for a copy editor. Duh. And she basically told me that it was going to be a loss. That no one was going to like this book. It was not going to do that great and everything else. Again, she did not even finish it. She didn't do anything. Like I said, she got to chapter 3 or 4, said it was crap, and that was that. Yeah. Now, as an author that was very new and still very fresh, that was really hard. Because you're expecting everyone in your community, in your community to be supportive. But I'm going to tell you something, and this is for new authors. Not everyone in the writing community is going to be supportive. So it's important that you find your people in that community and you stick with those people. Okay? I'm not saying that everyone's like this, but some people are. Some people will just attack your book. They'll attack your covers. They'll attack your blurbs for the back of the book. They'll attack everything. They're just very negative and they're full of criticism, and it's important that you don't let that stop you and that you do find the right people to surround yourself with. That's very important to do. And it's not easy. It took me almost a year to find my people in the writing community. And honestly, without them, I don't think I would have quit writing, but I definitely would have felt a lot more isolated had I not found them. Yeah, had I not found them, would have been very isolating. And I actually found them by accident. So I can't remember how I met one of them. It was on Instagram. And she had a cover, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love your cover. I love the model. I follow him on Instagram. And it just kind of went from there. And pretty soon, her and I just started chit-chatting, and she sends me an invite to the Discord group she's in, and pretty soon, there's my writing community. That was it. It was just a simple conversation. And I think it's been 2 years now. 2 years now that I've been in that group with my people. And again, it took a while, and once you find them, you learn from each other and things like that. So, don't get discouraged when, you meet someone in the community that just doesn't jive with you. That's just not that good of a person. Don't let that stop you, and if you are an author and you're out there and you haven't found your people, you will find your people. I promise. You will find your writing people. And it's going to be amazing when you do. I promise. So yeah. But that beta reading experience was something I'll never forget. I'll never forget it. Never. And it wasn't like that she was a best-selling indie author. She'd only written one book. And it was from 5 years before, and it only had 4 or 5 reviews. So it's you're going to critique someone and tell them your book is crap, but you're not really going to publish anything yourself, and it's here's someone that's really putting themselves out there, and I've noticed that sometimes when it comes to those kind of people, that's who they are. They're oh, I'm not really going to go all out there and do all that, but I am going to judge the ones that do. You get what I'm saying? So it's important that we stick with each other, that we're supportive of each other, and because all of us at some point, we're all learning something new. All of us are. So it's important that we support each other. Yeah. I just want to talk about that today this week because it was that whole thing in the beta group that someone was looking for a critique partner, and that just kind of like triggered my memory. So I just thought I would share that with everybody. So yeah. But tune in next week because we're going to go over, I'm going to call it my book from hell. But we're also going to call it AKA my learning experience. We'll go over that next week. So tune in. Have a good weekend. Bye, y'all.